We remind you that love starts with you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Bachelor Happy Hour. I'm Joe.
And I'm Serena.
And we are here today with Juliana. Juliana, welcome to Bachelor Happy Hour.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming on.
How you doing? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm just excited to be here.
Nice. All right. We've been watching you. We watched your one-on-one. We'll get all into that. But before we do, a little background. Where are you currently living?
I'm right outside of Boston. I'm in Newton, Massachusetts.
Nice.
Cold.
Is that where you grew up?
Yeah. I grew up in Newton. I actually grew up in the same house that my mom grew up in. So.
Oh, that's so nice. Wow.
Yeah.
That's going to be a hard day if you guys ever have to sell that house.
I know. They just got a house in Florida. So I'm like, can you just keep this house for a few more years till I can buy it?
Yeah. Oh, keep it in the family. I was actually just at my parents' place this past weekend, and I was thinking, like, damn, I'm going to be really sad if they ever sell this house.
Or the couch in the basement?
So many memories.
Or the couch in the basement. Yeah, the couch in the basement is so comfortable.
Yeah.
We have this like traveling couch that my grandmother had in her house, and we can't get rid of it 'cause it's like a purple couch, and purple was her favorite color. So it's just like rotating from like storage unit to like house. We don't have the heart to like do anything with it.
Someone's got to design like a whole room just around this purple couch.
Totally. Yeah.
So you're from a big Italian family?
I sure am.
What's your favorite Italian food? Your favorite dish?
Well, I go between cacio e pepe and I love a good chicken parm. So just depends on how hungry I am.
Do you speak any Italian, or does anyone in your family?
Not really, to be honest. We have a couple people that do, because we go to this small town in Italy every few years. And so we just are all ducklings behind the few that can actually understand and speak. But I've been on Duolingo and I got a pretty good streak going. So.
Oh, get it.
We were when Serena and I were in Italy for our honeymoon, I was speaking Italian.
No, Joe is Italian. He doesn't speak a lick of Italian. No one in his family does. And we were in Italy and they would be like, he'd be like, oh, Amabile, like, you're Italian. Do you speak any Italian? And he would say a little bit, like, in French. You were like, petit peu. And I'm like, first of all, that's not Italian. Second of all, you don't speak a little Italian. They're going to start talking to you. You're not going to know what they're saying.
I just hit him with,
You can't fake it to them.
They know. They'd be like, okay, so you're lying.
So, Juliana, how did you get on The Bachelor?
So a couple of years ago, my sister and I started to do, Monday wine night, and we were just watching a few seasons, and somewhere along the way, she signed me up and never told me. So I got a call, this past like April, and, it took me off guard, and they asked if I'd ever been interested, and my sister signed me up, and I was kind of like 50-50 at first, and I just thought there was no harm in going through the process, and ultimately it panned out, and then I was on.
What was dating life like for you before going on?
Very minimal. Not too much happening in the relationship standpoint. I don't really love first dates, and I don't love second dates, so I was kind of just doing my thing, but I was on the dating apps and swiping for fun. It's like online shopping.
This is a good show for you then. Like, if you're like, I don't like that, like, initial, like, like texting, got to get to know them. Like, this really is a good process for you.
Yeah, I was speed dating,
Do you have any guys in your past that you think like watched the show and were like, what the fuck? What's she doing on here?
It's funny because I'm friends on social media with some of them, like Instagram. And so I've got a couple DMs, but mostly they're on my side. They're rooting for me, and all good. Everything ended well. I never ghosted anybody. I just was like, this isn't for me.
You've never ghosted anyone ever?
Oh, I probably ghosted somebody at some point.
That's what I thought. That's what
Yeah, for sure. Some people I probably was like, walked out of that first date and was like, block number, delete. Never want to see you again. Yeah.
Done with you.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the show. How did you decide on, your night one dress, your night one introduction with Grant, all the things?
Yeah. So my sister helped me with all of my dresses, like all of my outfits. We did sticky notes and she basically packed my suitcase for me. So I felt really good in that department. And I went in with an idea, but ultimately my producer and I kind of worked to tie in a couple of like aspects of myself. Like I'm known for loving a good sweet treat and I'm Italian. And so we just tried to combine the two and we came up with a cannoli and wanted to give him a little taste of me right from the jump.
Yeah, super cute. And
Yeah.
then what was your first impression of Grant? Was he kind of what you expected?
Yeah, I for sure like blacked out the minute I got out of the Uber. I mean the
The
limo.
limo. Uber Black.
Yeah, Uber Black.
It'd be crazy if you pulled up to the house at an Uber.
I probably should have. But yeah, no, he was looks wise, everything that I was excited for, and then even more, he was like taller than I realized. He was more handsome in person than, I think I anticipated, which took my breath away a little bit. But I think one of the coolest things was like when I was talking to him, I could just tell he was really like listening to me. It's in like your body language and your eye contact and things like that. And so that I was like, okay, I was a little reassured that I thought I had an inkling that he was a good guy.
Were you at all worried that first night that you could potentially go home?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. But it's not until I think the rose ceremony that you really kind of get that rush of emotions because there's so much happening and you're also getting to know girls and trying to think about, your conversation with him. And when you're standing in the rose ceremony that first night, it's so many emotions that you grapple with of like, your ego and your heart and the desire to, want more opportunities to kind of get to know him and for him to get to know you. And you're like, oh my God, if I go home, I think I'll feel like embarrassed and sad are the first things that I think I would feel.
Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing.
No shame to the night one goer
No.
homers, but
Joe went home night one.
We don't have to say it every
Oh,
episode.
stop.
Well, it's good context when you're like, yeah, it is embarrassing.
but
you're
I-
speaking from experience.
Yeah.
You're not just shitting on the
Oh,
night
shoot,
one
yeah.
people.
Yeah, well, if any of the night one people come for me, then they'll figure out that I went home night one.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
But you know what? Everything happens for a reason.
Everything
and
happens for a reason.
That's true.
How was your first conversation that first night with Grant?
It was good. It was good. I was having the worst time of my life trying to play the piano. I will admit that. Because I don't really know how to play. I just taught myself Moonlight Sonata.
Oh my gosh.
It's like how I speak
and
Italian.
then it was like
It's like what?
It's like how I speak Italian.
Yeah.
I'm like a fake piano player, and then all of a sudden I was trying to win a man over with my lack of skills. And but he made a joke of it. It was good. It kind of was the initial feeling of like, oh wow, we can be kind of goofy together. So I walked away feeling really good.
That's so funny because I played chess on night one. That was like my activity. And I had said like, yeah, no, like I've played chess before. We got like a big chessboard. I was super excited.
You
I was
know
like,
how
oh,
to play chess?
okay, so like I guess I had like more confidence in myself than I should have because like when the time came, I was like, I don't think I've played chess in like 15 years.
Yeah.
But I was like,
So-
you know what? It's okay. Like he's not here looking for a chess player, and I don't think Grant's there
Right.
looking for a pianist, so it's okay.
Yeah. I'm like that's I'm gonna take that off my resume moving forward. I'm not gonna tell anybody that.
What girls did you click with from the beginning, and did any of those girls stick around to being one of your closest friends in the house? It's kind of a weird way to phrase that.
Yeah,
but
it's
like,
okay.
you get what I'm saying.
Night one, me and Allie Joe just clicked immediately. And she was definitely my safety net, until she went home. But I'd like to think that me and a lot of the girls ended up having really good relationships. And I hope, we can maintain them after the show. I did get really close with Vicky and Parisa, and as you get deeper and deeper into the process and there's fewer and fewer of you, you kind of start to lean on people that maybe you didn't initially, be attracted to. And, I got really close with Serafina and Latia, and I think that I hope that they'll be lifelong friends.
Nice.
Yeah, I feel like it's such a special bond, especially when you first come off the show and it's airing. Being able to connect with these people, even if it's only for a season of life, but you do have this like really intense shared experience.
Yeah, yeah, and especially in the aftermath of it, having people that just also can understand what you went through, because I can talk to my friends and my family about this all day, and they can give me the usual advice that does help, but it's also they don't really understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
100%.
It's different for sure. Well,
Yeah.
did you watch the show before you went on it?
For a couple seasons, yeah. Yeah, I don't remember when I started, but I to be completely honest, I was just going to my sister's house on Monday night to drink some wine. And then it just kind of turned into this, well, we have something to watch. And I got into it.
Any season that's you would say has been your favorite?
Um, I would say, I mean, just because it's kind of all I really remember. Like Joey's season was really good. I
Yeah,
I
it
thought all
was.
the girls on that were really fun. Jen's season was a little harder to watch, I feel like, because it was a pretty accurate representation of like the current dating world with like the men that were on it. And
Interesting.
yeah, and so as a viewer, watching her kind of try and maneuver that in the setting that she was in when we're trying to do that on the outside world too, it's like you can't help but just root for her and want her to succeed.
All right, let's fly through a little bit of the drama this season and get some of your thoughts, and then we'll dive deeper into your one-on-one this week.
Oh, wait, real quick before we do.
Yeah, go off.
What's it been like watching yourself back? Has that been weird, or
yeah.
is that something you're comfortable with?
It's weird for sure. It's cringy. You're your own worst critic. So I've been having like a hard time, but at the same time, just trying to take everything with a grain of salt and laugh, because I have a mindset that, life is just too serious to take seriously. So if I can make a joke out of something, it almost stings less when someone else tries to make a joke out of it too, because we can laugh together. And it's also been a really good opportunity to see things about myself that I like, and see things about myself that maybe I want to change.
Mm.
And that's between like me and my conscience, so it's weird. It's definitely like a kind of like something I wish I could run away from, but at the same time it's helpful if you allow it to be.
How's your family watching you kiss a boy?
We do see. Yeah, we
Horrible.
do see in the. We do see. You can't spoil it. I don't know if your dad's serious or not, but we do see in the teaser, her dad's like, you just
Did you just kiss my daughter? Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard for them, not hard, but it's different for them for all of the reasons of seeing it on TV, but also I've never brought a guy home. That's only happened once in my life. And so they've never really seen me interact with like men that I'm romantically involved with. And so I'm the baby of my family. My parents are like, what the hell is happening? Even though I'm 28, they're like, she's still like a baby to them. And so watching me kiss other people, like it's cringy for me. I can't imagine how god awful it is for them. I just made them I begged them to like promise me that if it looked like that was going to happen, close your eyes.
Yeah.
Just please close
Yeah.
your eyes.
Look away. Look away.
Yep. Never happened. Don't know what you're talking about.
That's so funny. Has anything since watching it back happened on the show that you were really surprised by? Or you were like, whoa, I didn't know that happened, or like, I can't believe this person was saying that?
Uh
I feel like because it's a smaller cast this season, that doesn't happen as much.
yeah, it really didn't. I mean, we had such a, from my perspective, really awesome group of girls that was, we were able to kind of keep our cards close to our chest, but also like support each other and listen. And, I don't think anyone really had any sort of like malicious intent with anything. And the drama was, from my eyes, very minimal. So yeah, nothing really surprised me. The llama was like probably one of the most surprising things night one, because I don't know what I thought when he told me there was going to be a llama inside, but I did not
the
think
llama.
there was going to be a real llama like greeting
I
me.
forgot you were the one he said that to. That was so funny.
Yeah, he was like said that, and I was like, okay, cool, like catch you later. And then
You're like, what did he just say to me?
yeah,
You're like,
and
what
then
a weird joke.
there, and I was like, wait, what?
So funny.
Jumping to some of the conflicts and drama
Mhm.
in the house, I would say
Let's maybe start with the
we'll start with the Zoe stuff because that seemed to end in a positive light. It seems like that
Yeah.
kind of went away.
You were on you were on the basketball group date and the finance group date, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in your eyes, were you surprised on that first group date when Zoe pulled him? Were you like, whoa, like here we go, like it's all happening?
I don't know if surprise is the word because I feel like that's a common theme in this season. Like someone's gonna do it. But I will say is that like the amount of time that it took away from us is something I wasn't really anticipating.
Yeah.
So I know that that's kind of what ruffled a lot of feathers. And then just like the way she came back in to like greet us afterwards it wasn't the best from my perspective. So I think that also was like just even like digging the hole deeper and adding like fuel to the fire that she started, but you know, it's fine. Like not everybody's going to go in there with the same game plan. But I think it's just for me, it's a matter of like respecting people. And I think when she came back is when I was like, oh wow, like she had, you know, no thought of us and what you know, what her actions could maybe like prevent us from doing, which is, you know, all trying to be there to get to know him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so usually when that shit happens, it like lingers throughout the season, but it does seem like it kind of just like went away and
After episode 2.
Yeah, like after a little bit it went away.
Could you give us some insight into, is that how it felt? Like she came in hot and then it dissipated a little bit, or what was kind of the dynamic?
Yeah. It was kind of like that happened, right? The basketball date happened, and I think that tensions were high for a lot of reasons that day. And so we tried to sort it out that night, and we didn't really get to a conclusion. And we all just needed to go to sleep, regroup, figure out what's going to happen next. The finance date, I think, is what kind of made things more confusing because in between that period, we had kind of sorted through things.
Yeah.
And you know, obviously you guys don't get to see everything, but there's so many conversations that happen, and nobody ever wanted anybody to feel you know, isolated by choice. And so when Grant came back in and did, you know, his like mic drop moment about us like belittling people, I mean, I just kind of looked around and we were going like one by one saying, you know, what was your conversation about? What was your conversation about? And it was so late. I was so tired. I was like, let's skip to the point.
Oh yeah, you were the one you called.
Yeah,
you personally
were like,
called
let's cut to
out
the chase.
Zoe.
Zoe, what was your conversation about? Okay, that, yeah. And honestly, good for you, because like we were even watching it being like, we don't need to do this dance. Like everyone's sitting there knowing that like this came, or it most likely came from Zoe, you know, like we could start there and then work our way backwards.
Yep.
Thank you for speeding up our TV watching process.
Yeah. And you know, we had been all talking like just about how fun the date was and how, you know, it was so light, and especially coming from the basketball date where we were like, you know, humbling each other. We're like, this was nice, you know. And then she opened up and talked about, you know, her emotions, and they were so valid. But I think to kind of hear that from her and try and support her, than to hearing like all of a sudden we were belittling, it was like we were just trying to figure out what it was so we could, you know, stand better with her and support her, because we didn't understand what like that was stemming from, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it just kind of like after that, you know, you see us all sobbing and crying, and I think we were all just trying to figure out like if we were ever going to be able to find like common ground, or if this was going to be, maybe more of like a victimizing situation where we couldn't win, no matter what we did. And that felt like, a full loss, because then it's he said, she said. And if that was the trajectory of like the season, I don't think any of us would have been able to like last.
Yeah, it probably just felt like, oh my gosh, we're already so drained, and like we have no idea how long this conflict is going to go on for. And you're so tired, like it's overwhelming.
This is Jenny Garth from Who Has Always
Daily birth control. This is the moment to take control of your health. Fritz with HandFit. Every day is a chance to be
and the broader financial landscape. Chase and Company. For it.
So then, so you and Zoe both make it to hometowns. Do you guys eventually start getting along? Like, is everything cool then after all that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it was after the basketball date, we resolved things. After the finance date, we resolved things too. It was like, we don't have to be friends. We don't have to even really agree with each other. We just have to be cordial, and we have to understand that like there are multiple people involved in this, and you can't just make it about yourself when you're in a group setting. Take that time when you're alone with your own thoughts, or with Grant, to like figure that out, but don't kind of like spew that on us all the time.
Yeah.
And it was good, and we were fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so here comes Carolina
and Rose.
Oh, Carolina and Rose. Yeah. I guess like, what's your point of view on the whole Carolina situation, or do you want to do part by part?
Let's do Carolina and Rose first, and then we'll jump to
Carolina and Rose. What went down
Any
there?
insight?
What went down there? Because,
what happened?
Because here, as a viewer, and I was like kind of recapping the show and watching the show, it's kind of like you feel bad for Rose, but in the same breath, you're kind of like, why would you tell, like, in my opinion, I'm like, why would you tell Carolina that Grant said that? Like,
yeah, it's too bad we couldn't see that conversation.
Yeah, like, why give up that information? Because really, that's hurting you, no matter what way you look at it, by releasing that to Grant.
I know. Yeah, it's so tricky, because I remember it was prom night, and I saw Carolina having kind of a long conversation with Grant, and I forget who I was talking to, but my perspective was like, oh, good. Let her have this long conversation. She's probably talking about all the insecurities she talked to us about nonstop when she came home from the date. And she might either finish that conversation and like leave, or she might stop having all of these like doubts. And then the conversations with us will be better. Because I don't think any of the girls had any idea that had happened, behind the conversation between her and Carolina. And so,
interesting. She hadn't mentioned it to anyone of like, oh my God, guess what Rose said to me last night?
No, I don't think so, because we were all kind of like, what is she talking about? I was the one being like, all of her insecurities that she's been talking to us about. So like, let it happen.
Were her insecurities, like her being insecure if like Grant was into her, or her being?
Yeah, we're hearing a lot on the show of like her like we're hearing vague statements of like her insecurities, her negative comments, but like, could you give us a little?
Yeah, or was just
like what more specifically was it?
Yeah, the tricky thing is that obviously a lot of conversations do tend to happen off camera, and I don't know if that's intentional for these reasons or not, but I don't want to necessarily play telephone, but there were, from my eyes, some doubts about who he was as a person, and the process, which is fine and fair, but you kind of have to accept that going into it. And you can have doubts, but to constantly tear down what we're all also here to do is hard to hear.
Definitely.
And just doubts about like,
it's like going on American Idol and being like, this is a singing competition, like, fuck?
yeah, because like, I don't even know if I could sing, and you were like, well, then why'd you come? It's like, you can do your best, but you can also opt out if you realize it's not for you, and nobody will judge you. So I think hearing the things about Grant that we did, especially when she was the one who had kind of one of the only few people who had alone time with him, we're all trying to make sense of, this process and him as a person. And we're kind of taking what people are saying and making our own judgments. So to hear negativity about him when we haven't had a chance to really get to know him is hard, because then you're maybe more reserved than you already were, or you're not ready to like open up, or you don't trust him because of somebody else's, emotions. And so it's tricky, it's hard. And it was just really negative all the time.
Gotcha. That's helpful context for sure. So she comes back from her conversation with Grant, and I'm assuming Grant then pulls Rose right away. And does it kind of start to unfold within the house of what's happening?
Yeah, I was sitting next to Rose, and he came in hot, and he was like, "Rose, can I talk to you?" And I kind of like looked at her like, "Oh wow."
He's like, "You, let's go outside."
Yeah. And I looked at him and I was like, "Oh, like he's not really happy. He doesn't look like happy." And when she left, we were all kind of like, "Ooh, what's happening?" And then I think, that's when the game of telephone started happening, and girls were kind of finding out little pieces of info, and we were putting things together. And I was just like, oh shit. My initial reaction was the same as like, Rose, why would you say that? What possibly did you think was going to happen that could have a positive impact on yourself, him, Carolina, or the group by like speaking that into existence? And I said that to her right after the rose ceremony. I was kind of, I lost my composure for a second, and I was like, what are you doing, girl? And then I think you start to kind of get to know people's personalities more. And I don't think Rose had a single ounce of like malicious intent. I think that she thought she was being provided with a safe space to have a girl to girl conversation in a way that compartmentalized her friendship over the relationship. And ultimately, I think she got burned because of it, because she maybe trusted the wrong person or people.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's so hard. It was unfortunate because we did like Rose, and I mean, we still like Rose, but it just seemed like that incident, once it happened, it was going to be really hard for her to come back from.
Yeah, I don't think there's really any coming back from that in the short amount of time that you have. If you're trying to dig yourself out of a hole during that time, it's like it's almost useless. You've got to kind of
you just don't have enough time on this show to dig yourself out of a hole. You're gonna
you're in the hole, you're in the hole. Okay. Let's talk about you now.
Okay.
It's the day or week before hometowns. You guys are in Edinburgh. At this point, you haven't had a one-on-one. Where is your mindset with where you stand with Grant going into Edinburgh?
Well, I remember one of me and Grant's first conversations. I had told him, I was like, do not give me a one-on-one too early, because like I won't open up. And I'm
really?
like,
oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah. And then we're like, we leave Scotland, and I was like, shit, like I think I messed that up, because, I don't even know if I'm gonna get one now.
Wait, you mean Madrid?
Leaving Madrid.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like I definitely like screwed this one up. I probably should have kept my mouth shut and just let him do what he thought was best. And I was panicked because I thought, kind of going into Madrid, I was like, oh, it's gonna be my time to shine. He's keeping me around for a reason. And then, you're like, wow, we have one more chance before hometowns. And I didn't know if I was even going to be able to go to hometowns if I didn't have that one-on-one time, or if he was going to even be able to see that like future with me.
That's so interesting, because we literally just talked about this on our recap, and I think in Madrid I had said like I thought this might be like I thought Juliana might get the date this week, and we were just saying, I was like, I don't know like what happened, but like this is a late date, like it's not a good sign. Like I don't know how this has happened, that like it's a really late date.
You're taking yourself out of the game. If I was Grant, I would have fucked with you for sure. I would have been like, I would have chose someone at
be like,
Madrid,
okay, I'm giving her
and
the latest date this week.
That could have been you, and I would have just walked away. That could have been you.
That could have been you.
Oh my gosh, I was definitely like shaking in my boots for sure.
But it seems like, as much as it probably provoked some anxiety in Madrid, it maybe paid off in the long run because you did get the chance to open up, and maybe you wouldn't have felt comfortable if you gotten like a week 2, week 3 date.
Yeah, and it's a funny position to be in, but honestly, I think the later one-on-ones are a little bit better because you have such a good if you have such a good time and you are able to kind of like get deeper, then moving forward, there's less and less girls. So, you get more time to continue, to work on that. Where in the beginning, it's like you feel for girls who get the first one-on-one because then kind of like the rest of the time they're watching other people get those opportunities and you're back in a group setting in the minimal cocktail date night time and rose ceremony time, and you depend on like those moments to build on a relationship that you had a whole like day date and night portion to really kind of like get into.
Yeah, you essentially never had to go from a one-on-one back to a group date.
Yeah.
You got your one, it was like group dates and then one-on-one dates. That's nice.
Yeah.
That is nice.
Yeah. It was a good feeling. Yeah.
So you get this princess dress up date. How do you feel about the activity? How's it going with Grant?
It's going really good with Grant. I think this was definitely one of the times where we just had fun during the day portion for sure. We kind of just, in the little moments that you do have when you're not, having a deep conversation or, you're kind of switching up scenes or settings, you kind of just get to know somebody in those like little moments a lot more. So I started to feel really comfortable with him. And so, not to say that things were just like surface level, but it was more like let's just have fun because we don't know what's going to happen. And let's try to enjoy each other's company and see if this is something that, could actually really work on the outside world. And we did that, we did a little dress up. We, drank some champagne. We got to like dance, and on a red carpet.
How awkward was that?
So awkward.
And the worst with those dates is you're like, I don't want to do this, but at the same time, like, the sooner we get this done, the sooner it's over. Like, the sooner we nail this dance scene, the sooner we can stop dancing.
Yes, I was like praying that, my date was not going to involve one of those like, singers or artists and it's just you two.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I'm so awkward and like I don't know how to dance, and so I was just like, that's probably not for me. But luckily we had professional dancers around us, and I hope that they were still in the show.
Yeah,
so,
they killed it.
Yeah.
See, that's the like Paradise, like how you explained, like between sets and like being able to like get to know somebody that way. Like Paradise is the opposite. Like you actually get to know somebody like all day, and then like those on-screen moments are kind of like
I would
minimal.
flip what you're saying and say like the in-between moments that you get on Bachelor and Bachelorette is like most of your time on Paradise versus.
That's what I said.
Hi.
I know that's what you meant. I don't know if that's what you said.
That's fair.
I'm following now.
Yes.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And then we go into the night portion, and you open up about your experience having someone close to you in your life deal with substance abuse, which is something that Grant can relate to. He's been very open about his father's struggles and how that's impacted his family, his relationship. Was it comforting opening up to him about that, knowing that he was hopefully going to have a deeper level of understanding?
Yeah, truthfully, when I listened to his interview before coming on the season, that was one of the things that I found most endearing about him, was that he knows what it's like to love somebody and watch them struggle with that. But rather than, there's no rule book for handling substance abuse. There's no right or wrong way, and everybody, handles things differently. But to see him see love be at the forefront of how he was viewing it and handling it, that to me meant everything, because that's how myself and my big family kind of went into that, and it paid off well for us. It doesn't always pay off, but to have somebody that had been through that and handled it similarly, I felt really comfortable talking to him about it.
Yeah.
That's good. Do you think did that make your relationship stronger after that conversation and just after your entire one-on-one?
I think so. I think that, you see somebody in interviews or you see the way they talk about it, to other people, but to have that conversation with somebody who's also been through it and be able to connect on that. And one of the biggest things too about it is, when you're going through that and you kind of isolate yourself, whether that's by choice or by circumstance, being able to find the strength and the determination to dig yourself out of it, is really powerful. And to me, that's a characteristic of him, or a character trait of him, that I got to really understand. And that for me was enough to be like, okay, another checkbox. Like, he's a good one. I want to keep him.
Nice.
Going into your one-on-one date, where would you say your relationship was at? And then leaving your one-on-one date, how are you feeling about everything?
Going into it, nerve-wracking, because you kind of have we had a really good base. I will say that. We had really good conversations. Some were just silly and lighthearted, and some were really serious, but for the most part, I was still trying to understand if I really liked him. And so leaving the one-on-one, I felt sure about him as a person from the conversations we had. And I don't think anybody's perfect, but I think that he is a really well-rounded, compassionate, caring man, and that was the type of person I wanted a future with, so I felt secure.
Yeah.
Were you at this point, now we're pretty deep into it, are you starting to compare your relationship to the relationship of the other girls with him? Like, is there anyone you're worried about at this point?
I tried to really just compartmentalize that with the girls, and I pride myself that I feel like I did a really good job. I was always able to listen when girls wanted to talk about their time, and I never took it personally, because I like I said, I'm a bit of a slow burn, so I'm never the one that kind of just like latches onto somebody and gets jealous. I'm kind of like, we're all dating him. We all kind of like him. What did you like and what did you dislike? And I kind of took that back with me and tried to kind of save it for future use, informing my own opinion. So I was never really like intimidated or nervous by anybody's relationship, but I definitely saw what I felt is some relationships were stronger than others. And you try to resonate with the girls in terms of like, oh, if like, am I like her? Is he going to make sense for me? But not necessarily by like intimidation. It's just in comparison by nature of the circumstances.
What?
I was waiting to see if you were going to ask or if I was going to ask.
Well, I was going to ask. Well, we'll both present our questions, and you choose which one.
No.
You
go. And I'll go.
Was there? Were you at all surprised by who we chose to take to hometowns? Was there anyone that went home that you were like, oh, I didn't see that coming?
Yeah, I think Natalie going home was like a big one for me. Parisa even going home. I got really close with Parisa, and I loved, everything about her. And so it's just like I said, you kind of start to resonate with certain girls, and you wonder where his head's at, if he's sending some home and not others. And, we were all really like amazing girls and beautiful inside and out, but it's still the people that you see maybe a little bit of yourself in, that when they get sent home, you kind of feel like, oh shit, like, what is he thinking? And am I next?
This is Ashley Canetti from the Ben and Ashley I Almost Famous podcast. If you're immersed at all in culture, you know that Ozay well right now.
It can feel very overwhelming. Personally, for me, something that was really important was something that was convenient and easy to slip into my daily happy hour for 25% off your first, for the look, but also for the meaning.
Miss, host of the show and CEO of the rest of the upcoming season of The Unshakables.
Discover's accepted at 99% of...
So out of those women, were you at also, did you think like maybe Dina was not going to make it and Alex was, or anything like that?
No, I think I felt pretty good about like, him.
And
Alex
just got sent.
For Nielsen report.
So we just saw Carolina, Serafina, and
Alex.
Alex just got sent home.
Yeah. So out of those women, were you at also, did you think like maybe Dina was not going to make it and Alex was, or anything like that?
No, I think I felt pretty good about, like, you know, him keeping Adina and Latia. Those made sense to me. Obviously, he's got a tough position to make, but Zoe not having one-on-one time,
Yeah.
that to me was like surprising, because I was like, wow, their connection must be so strong in the small amount of time that they got, that he didn't even feel like he needed that additional time. And that was a surprise to me. Not that I didn't like see their connection, but obviously Zoe was not really like opening up to the group. So she was very closed off. So you don't really know kind of what was happening behind closed doors with her. And so it definitely, that took me by surprise.
Yeah, no,
sure.
that took us by surprise too, for the exact same reason. Just like, oh wow, like the connection must be strong based on like the fact she didn't get a one-on-one. She's still going to hometowns.
Yeah, totally.
I want to quickly ask you, not to take it off the love and bring it back to the drama, but you were like, had a little moment with Carolina, and then we saw you talk to Grant about that.
Yeah.
Were you nervous at all to bring that to him, for what that may have meant for your relationship with him, your relationships in the house? I know that can be like a scary position to be in.
Okay, well, I would like to say with that is, you know, I think if you really rewind and watch the conversation that I had with Carolina initially, and how I started it, I truly went in there with the intention of having a girl to girl respectful conversation, and bring up that the fact that her words and her actions were having a negative effect on the people around her, because I did not think that she was aware of that. And it was in her response to me is what made it feel and look more like a confrontation than what was ever intended.
Gotcha.
And so then my conversation with Grant, you know, like I said, there's a lot of things that happen behind closed doors, and I'm not a liar, and there's truth in what I said. But I thought that my game plan going into the night was that I was not going to bring it up to him, and I wasn't going to bring it up, you know, ever again to the other girls. He wanted to address it, and I felt it would be doing him a disservice if I didn't at least try to present the facts that I knew, not any of the hearsay, not any of the telephone, just things that I knew that had been said about him and his character, and how it was affecting the group. And that to me is true to who I am. So, you know, that's just a little taste of it. And if he didn't like that, then it was probably for the best of us that, you know, I went home, because that I'll never not speak truthfully and stand on my own business, but I will also never poke my neck into situations that don't necessarily require my words.
Well, yeah, and if he's asking you, you're obviously going to say, okay, well, you're asking me a direct question. I am going to give you my most honest answer, because you're asking me for information, and I'm not going to lie or say something that I don't feel is true.
Yeah. And I would never intentionally try to paint somebody in a negative light. You know, obviously things are cut and clipped as to, you know, the story that needs to be told, and that's fine. And what was shown, it did come out of my mouth. I think that there's just a lot more to the story, but that I was able to provide him some clarity in that.
Mm-hmm.
On a scale of 1 through 10, 10 being love, 1 being hate, where does Carolina fall on that scale?
Oh, that's such a aggressive question. Oh my God.
I think that right now, Carolina and I are in a very similar position, that we've opened ourselves up to public judgment. And some people are going to agree with her and disagree with me, and vice versa. But the one thing that I would never do is try to bring additional negativity her way, knowing that it could hurt her. I wasn't trying to tear her down in the conversation when I pulled her one-on-one, and I'm not trying to tear her down now. And I will never try to tear her down, because I respect her as a person and a human. I just don't have to like her, and that's fine and that's fair. And that's how I feel about it.
Okay, so you hate Carolina. That's good to know. No,
No, it's a great
I was
answer.
joking. Okay,
May
last.
I ask, is that the motivation for the Be Nice t-shirt you're wearing today? For everyone listening, Juliana's wearing a white t-shirt and in black letters it says Be Nice.
I think one of the biggest things that I try to pride myself in is a quote that my grandmother used to say, and she instilled in my entire family's life. And I have it tattooed on me, and it says, "It's nice to be nice." And life is just way too hard and it's too serious to spread anything but kindness. And the people that deserve to be loved the least need to be loved the most. So be nice, bitches.
Love
Nice,
it. I love
nice.
that.
Okay, before we're going to play a quick game with you.
Okay.
Before we do, going into quick question, what are you most worried about going into hometowns with Grant meeting your family? Or not worried, maybe just nervous.
Yeah. Like when I tell you my family's like loud and crazy, and they just like, if they don't know you, they will have you come sit, pour you a drink and ask you your life story. I didn't know if that was going to be overwhelming. And knowing he was also meeting 3 other women's families, like I didn't want him to feel like it was too much. And I had no idea like who was really gonna like show up and show their, loudness out and say something out of pocket. And I was so nervous about that. Like I love my family. And so going into this, it was like, you have to love these people, because if you love me, you're going to love them and they will love you right back. But we're not for everybody, and that's okay.
I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you there. Okay, we're going to play a quick game. Rapid fire, get to know Juliana. It's just Juliana. Okay, first thing that comes to your head. What is your dream vacation destination?
I want to go to Sicily.
Favorite comfort movie or TV show?
Step Up.
How do you step up?
Whoa, that was a throwback
Yeah.
answer. I was not expecting that.
How do you unwind after a long day?
A glass of Cab Sauv.
What is your love language?
Love letters.
What is your favorite home cooked meal?
Pasta and turkey meatballs from my sister.
What is your go-to drink at a bar?
A extra dirty martini with gin. Hendrix, please.
Who is someone, I just had one of those. Who is someone that inspires you?
My grandmother, Olympia.
What music artist would you love to see perform live?
I don't really like concerts, but I feel like Teddy Swims.
I like that.
If you were
Yeah.
stranded on a deserted island and you could only bring 2 girls from your season, who
Yeah.
would you bring?
Allie Joe and Parisa, because Parisa would take care of all the bugs.
What is a piece of advice you've never forgotten?
When life gives you hell, just keep going, because why would you ever want to stay in hell?
What are 3 essentials you always have in your purse?
Chapstick, a little perfume, and extra contacts because I'm blind.
And if you could describe Grant's season in one word, what would it be?
Eventful.
Eventful. It has been eventful.
Juliana, thank you so much for coming on Bachelor Happy Hour and taking the time. It was really great interviewing you and getting to know you.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Bachelor Happy Hour. Make sure you download and subscribe.
Don't forget to watch Juliana and the other women on Grant's hometown episode coming up. And thank you for listening. Bye.